hello, good morning, or actually afternoon. I guess it's a rainy day, so I'm actually mistaking afternoon for morning. Thank you so much. This is Nigeria Now, where we keep you updated with the happenings in Nigeria. We have quite a number of things we would love to discuss, but meanwhile, we're saying that presently there was a protest in River State where we're saying that the formal talking about the local government chairmen that were being actually sacked from their office. We're seeing that they have actually staged a protest in River State concerning the fact that they are happy and they are actually chanting some inspirational words as well as encouragement to this talking about the FCT minister Wiki. As well, we are seeing that the minister for state health is actually promising doctors in diaspora that they are working toward making sure that there is a better working environment. So we are seeing that quite a number of things is actually happening. So we hope that you follow us as we continue to unravel some of the things that are happening. I am Sela Lashidasham, of course, and I'll be doing the program alongside Rachel Tazi. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, Sally.
It's actually mistaken afternoon for morning because of the
Sally, I
weather.
just said good morning to someone a few minutes ago. So,
Exactly, exactly. Well, let us just go straight into some of the things we love to discuss. And we love to start with the issue of minimum wage. I think you and I have been discussing the issue of minimum wage, and we're saying that the Nigerian Union of Journalists are coming out to tell the president that he needs to actually come and put an end to the issue of the minimum wage problem, because we're seeing that quite a number of things are happening. We've seen that even during the weekend, we saw where Fabemi is coming out to say that there should be more like a decentralized payment. That is to say that every state should actually pay what they will be able to afford. We saw Uzo Kalu coming out to say that, what, let us pay the civil servant 90,000
yeah.
naira. And then a number of things. I remember last week we also saw one of the law makers coming out to say that the government will be able to afford 150,000 naira. He said that they will sacrifice from their allowance,
Yes.
and that was, I think, that's really, like a nice gesture
It is.
coming from him.
Yeah.
But in the midst of it, we're saying that the Nigerian Union of Journalists have to speak up concerning this matter, because it's taking a different turn and it seems it's taking forever. I mean, this is something that we should have finished
Yeah.
by April, but June is finished, and then we're entering the second half of the year, and yet it seems as if nobody is saying anything about it. And so we're saying that this Union of Journalists are coming out to tell the president, you know what, you need to come and say something and let this whole issue of the minimum, we let us know what is the new amount, because the last time we had any negotiation was when the operational private sector alongside the federal government were saying
Yes.
62,000 naira was the pay, and then we're saying that that will not actually be able to do anything with a hardship, food prices skyrocketing, and everything, and inflation. So many things are actually contributing factors. So if you look at that amount, you and I know that it's not going to take us anywhere. So I think the federal government need to do something, because they are directing this straight to the president himself, not the presidency, but to the president to do something concerning this issue of the minimum wage.
Sally, imagine a scenario where the president, in his speech, inaugural speech, said something like, first subsidy gone, new minimum wage, 100,000 naira. I don't think we'll be here right now. That is the truth about the matter. And that is the reality of our system. That oftentimes, when things are being presented to us, policies, the aftermath of these policies just leaves you pondering on the fact that, was there any thought put through to certain things? Most of the times, every time, in fact, all the time in our history, if you look at it, minimum wage always came after inflation. When the cost of living goes high, you find the organized labor coming out demanding for minimum wage increase, and then it get increased subsequently. We've never had a government or a system that have seen the need to increase minimum wage regardless of the economic situation of its citizens at the moment. And this has been a problem. Okay, if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is saying that subsidy removal had been a well thought decision, meaning you would have seen to the future the hardship it would bring upon your people, because automatically you know that fuel pump price is going to change. You must have sat down and see the implication cost-wise. How much will fuel pump price be now? If we're taking off subsidy, if fuel pump was 200 naira, it's going to get to 600, 700, and if scarcity should kick in, we are looking, there should be all of these data analysis and forecasts when you are doing something drastic like that. And then alongside with it, okay, before we implement this, or while we are going to implement it, what will be the next step ahead to ease hardship? Now, why am I saying all of these things? Is because in the end of the day, I believe that if certain things were being put in place, there won't even be this back and forth with labor in the first place, I believe. Because whether we like it or not, there is a need for minimum wage increase. We don't even want to beat around the bush concerning how 30,000 was nothing in the first place. Now I'm talking more of 30,000 in a time where there is no fuel subsidy, and then dollar is still high as against the naira when it comes to our exchange rate. NUJ is not wrong, and I believe that every other body will also be walking on eggshells as far as I'm concerned concerning this, because ASU is at a tipping point. Every organization, every union, as far as I'm concerned, is just at the tip or at the verge of collapse or falling regarding going on strike and all of that, because how many people can really say they are surviving the present situation or the economic situation of this country? So yes, if the federal government don't want SSA and you to go on strike, don't want ASU to go on strike, don't want NLC to go on strike, don't want the TLC and TLCS to go on strike and all of that, I believe that they have to do something about the minimum wage. It's long overdue. We cannot stop overemphasizing on that. Imagine if we had that going on. Labor will not, because from 30,000 we had 100,000, we won't even have any negotiation. Why? Because the federal government now would have put labor in a position that they won't talk. They just have to keep quiet and go on, because that is what the labor did, giving the ball in the court for the president to decide. We saw that since last week, and silence was all they got from the president, saying, okay, we are waiting for the final decision from the president. That could have been the same situation if the president had already said, this is where we are going to, and in view of what will happen in the future, this will be the new minimum wage. And we won't be here, Celia. So what, in the end, the point is, we would have more economic policies in the future. We will have more decisions that will affect the life and citizens of Nigeria. I want to see a better outcome in the future, because as far as I'm concerned, there's little we can do right now. The decision have already been made. We're already where we are. Labor can only keep pushing, but still what, in the end, at the mercy of the government of the day. Because what else? You are still in the mercy. Is what the federal government decide at the end of the day, what state government decide, even what the private sectors decide at the end of the day will be what civilians will take home at the end of the day. But then what will be the future of Nigeria when certain decisions are being taken that will affect people? Are we going to see better implementation from our government, or just the same thing happening over and over?
You know, Rachel, while you were talking, I had to cast my mind back when you mentioned that, I mean, the president came out and said fuel subsidy is gone, and then it wasn't up to 24 hours. I mean, we saw the implementation of that, whether he actually spoke to NNPC or not, there was an increase. And that is to say that while he was still campaigning, he thought about this policy and the benefit of it. Now, I was hoping that as much as he was thinking about this, he was also thinking about, all right, if I'm removing fuel subsidy, the implication is that there's going to be an increase in price. Because we saw this far back during the Buhari's regime, where he kept mentioning the fact that Nigeria is one of those states that we buy fuel at a very cheap price. And I remember you and I said it's not about how much we buy it, but it's the fact that we actually are an oil producing country. country. So it's expected that we have it, so we should buy it at a cheaper price. If only we have fixed our refineries and all of it, because there is no need of paying for any importation. We do
Yeah.
it here. It's all about from Rivers to Sokoto, how much will it cost,
we
or
move.
from Rivers, however it is. That would have just been what we will be calculating. So that would depend on how much we're buying, because you're a little bit far from where it is being refined. But the reverse is the case. We are importing it into the country, and their marketers have to also look at their own profit before it gets down.
Yes.
I mean, we were actually discussing this off camera, where we're talking about the prices of goods and services. The fact that not only is this thing very expensive, but the fact that it is scarce. For example, the tomato that right now nobody can even touch.
Yeah.
It's the fact that from the farm already, people have already, already asked for it, they've already priced it, and
Yes.
it cannot even get to the market where you can
Yes.
actually say, okay, retailers can say, okay, let us buy, and then we take it to the consumers. Reverse is the case, it's even scarce. So what am I trying to say in essence? It's a matter of time. You rightly mentioned that number of already unions are, as you say, they'll go on strike. Rachel, for NUJ to be talking, I am scared very soon we hear that the Union of Journalists will be going on strike as well, Rachel, because they're also civil servants.
They are.
Most of the TV and radio stations that we have are owned by government.
Yes.
Very few are being owned by private individuals. So if we are seeing that, I mean, whether you are private or you are what, you are under the umbrella of the Nigerian Union of Journalists.
Yes.
So eventually, if they make a decision, it affects everybody. So I'm hoping that if they are directing this straight to the president himself, I'm hoping that he'll take a second thought
We
on
hope
this.
so.
You already promised Nigerians. We are hoping. I mean, there was back and forth concerning what the issue of the private jet that will be, purchased for the president, and what the lawmakers are saying about that. But we hope, in as much as we are also thinking about that, think about the ordinary citizens of Nigeria, whose tax money is what you're going to use to purchase this, this jet. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see this. Now, still somehow in line with the issue of payment, we're seeing that the federal government is actually penalizing civil servants that have relocated abroad and are still benefiting from the coffers of the Nigerian federal, talking about payment. And we're seeing here, he's saying he's going to sanction the supervisors, because definitely there's no how you sign a check and then you're aware that this person is not actually in the office, except if you as a supervisor have also been a ghost worker that have not been in your place of assignment. So you don't know how many people are actually, in the organization. And I think this affects our MDAs and even various ministries as well, because we have a number of people who have left the shores of Nigeria and are still benefiting from this. And we're seeing that the federal government is saying, do you know what? For those period of time you've been benefiting, you need to refund back the money. And I really love the approach coming from the president, even though I was hoping, because he said this during the roundup of the week of the civil servants on Saturday. Richard, I was hoping that would have been a time to actually propose the new minimum wage as a price or as a way of compensating the civil servants. But then I didn't hear any talk concerning that. Rather, I'm hearing a talk threatening those who are still abroad and are still benefiting from it. So it's not far-fetched, but I just I'm happy he made that statement. But as well, this actually shows that we have laxity. There have been a number of people are sleeping on their duties where you're supposed to be doing the right thing, and then a number of people are not even in their duty post, not to talk about sleeping there, Rachel. So that is what I'm seeing, from what the president is saying about penalizing the supervisors as well as sanctioning those workers that are still benefiting.
Like, whew, Celia, that's just what I want to say first of all, because I mean, the more we just talk about stuff, the more you just can't help but wonder how and when will we start getting things right in this country. It worries me a lot, because the effect of this is unemployment. That is the number one effect of this problem, is unemployment. Because Stella, when you get a job and you leave, it's expected that that position is vacant. Now, as long as you are still getting paid, it's not a vacant position. Nobody else can come and fill in that position, because there won't be a paycheck for whoever fills in that position, because the paycheck is going to an absent worker. And it just shows you that more than the government creating more job opportunities, there are job opportunities that corruption is swallowing. And this is important. It doesn't matter. Even if in total it's just 1,000 positions or places or paychecks going out, it means that there are 1,000 people that could be employed, but they are not because of something like this. And Sele, the emotion for this is anger. Nothing more, nothing less. To whoever is involved in this, and to the other person that is still receiving that money, you that is permitting the paycheck to go out, and then you that is receiving it, is height of wickedness. We are wicked to each other in this country, Sele. There's no better way we can put it. We talk about exploitations in our market, how you made mention of the breach in the supply chain, where there are no longer middlemen now. It's more of, in fact, we don't even have a supply chain anymore. It's just the battle of the fittest as far as I'm concerned. Because if we have people going to hijack the sales from the market, it's almost like collecting the monopoly of that supply and crippling every other chain that could make people have access to it in a more affordable and better way. This is us exploiting one another. And you can't help but wonder that how is tomato, how you just see memes flying red gold. And I'm bringing it down now to employment. That when you find we exploit each other at every level. So when you sit down and you're pointing at, this is the case where when you point at the government, it comes back to you because you are corrupt. The difference is perhaps they are stealing in billions, but you are stealing in hundreds of thousands. If your paycheck is 300,000 and you're not working and you're receiving it, you're also a thief. The difference is in the quantity or the amount of money
I call
you
such
stole.
people cooperatives.
Exactly, but you all are thieves. So what are we talking about here? So for me is, you know what? Who is the supervisor seller? Who is the administrator? That is the most corrupt person, because I want to believe he's not doing it or she is not doing it for one person. This favor will spread across many other individuals as long as I can get a cut
From
And you who have vacated a position, don't you think that someone should take in that position? Don't you think that you should be able to be the reason one other person has been employed and you are employed elsewhere? There should be a cleanup. This is in relation to all the ghost workers issues that we're having and all of that. There need to be a cleanup in every parastatal, in every government agency and office. This is not, it shouldn't be heard of. It breaks someone's heart to different kinds of pieces, because this is the corruption that we see in civil service, and then you just can't help but wonder, when can we get it right?
True.
Are we ready to get it right?
True,
Because this is evil on every level.
You know, Rachel, while you were talking on a lighter note, I was just trying to say the fact that, you know what, that is to tell that if you have submitted your CV to one of your aunties or uncles somewhere, you're yet to hear feedback. This is the reason why you cannot get that feedback, because somebody somewhere is actually presently absent
Exactly.
in that position, and you really, you know, you got it right. Because this whole issue of ghost workers, I mean, remember last week was when we saw they said over 1,000 workers were being cleaned out from the federal, and I said that I believe that is just
That
for
is just
one
ministry,
maybe just
perhaps,
one department,
or a department,
in the
yes,
whole
possibly.
organization, because I don't believe that is the number. And just like you said, I mean, that is to say that a number of people are corrupt, so that this has been going on for a very
Yes.
long period of time. And I hope it doesn't just end by the president saying this is what should be done, they should refund the money, but there should be a follow-up. There should be a body to make sure that, you know what, before you leave, you resign. And even if you didn't resign, as an organization or as a parastatal, you should know that you no longer have the staff. That is to say that if you're really going around and checking people who are working, and we see this happening mostly in government office, and just like you said, we point a finger and it comes back to us. And this is how we start, and then we take this attitude to higher positions.
Exactly.
And that is why we see things playing out the way they are. So I am hoping that in as much as the president have said this, there will be people who follow up. So I'll be sure that there are vacant spaces for people. Just like you said, the number one thing is the fact that a number of people are unemployed. With the issue of inflation, a number of organizations have to lay off a number of people because they can no longer afford to pay. So I'm hoping that the government will do the right thing by Nigerians to follow up these beyond just words. Well, this is how far we can go on the program. Thanks, Rachel.
You're welcome, Sally.
And also thank you to our viewers for keeping up with us on Nigeria Now. We look forward again to doing this with you tomorrow. Do have a blessed day ahead.